Hello, David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. We are here for another introduction from the Bond community. But this gentleman doesn't need any introduction, certainly not from me to you, but I do want to talk about him. Benjamin Lin, welcome to the show from the Bond Bulletin.
Thank you very much for having me. It's such a joy to be on your channel.
Well, I'm so happy because, one of the things we were talking about is there's a lot of mutual appreciation here. Benjamin and I got to meet, at the Solden Elements premiere, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly.
And I knew of what you have done in the fan community and in the Bond community, and I was always a fan, and we had some drinks, and then 3 days later, I think we were fast friends, and I've been following you or mutually following each other ever since. So I'm hoping today that there are a few people watching this that don't know you or don't know the Bond Bulletin who can say, oh, I think I want to get to know him a little bit better. So we're going to peel away the layers, if that's okay.
Oh, they say the other thing. I don't want anything to do with him.
Yeah.
Let's see.
All right, so we're going to start with something really basic. What is the Bond Bulletin?
Well, it sounds like a bulletin board, doesn't it? A bit. I started as a blog on Blogspot. It's where many of us, or some of us, started, and it was good because it had an impact on me. I like to write a lot, and it was great for publishing the first articles. But then, when you have really a lot of them, you want a more professional address for the whole thing. So I switched to .com, and finally learned to use WordPress. And content management system is really the best that you can have. And it was also easy and so fast. And then I started publishing article after article and called it the Bond Bulletin. In between, it was the Bond Bulletin James Bond News Network, because I was working with Morton and with Marcos during Spectre. Mm-hmm. We had our private little Facebook group and shared informations, behind the scenes photos and stuff. We still do that, by the way, so that everybody of us has the same informations, and we check out what we are allowed to publish and what we're not allowed to publish. And recently I thought of changing the name, because now on YouTube it sounds a bit funny. Going back thinking of a bulletin board, but I can't come up with a name. I'm really bad of naming things. So
I hope you don't, and I'll tell you why. First of all, the Bond Bulletin, the name itself, the brand itself, has a very good reputation, and that rides on your shoulders. You are one of these amicable, gregarious individuals within the Bond community that's also very uplifting. I joke that there's a curmudgeon-y Bond influence out there, and then there's the positive ones that really kind of celebrate Bond, and you're that. So the Bond Bulletin, and I'm just talking as someone from the United States, when I say bulletin, it's breaking news. It's the latest thing. When I think bulletin board, it's like the third or fourth thing I think about. So I hope you don't change it. I quite like it.
No, you're right. The perception is different in other countries. Certainly for us, bulletin board has springs to mind when you hear bulletin. But of course, yes, the news aspect. For that reason alone, I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, because itself, bullets are these like quick little crisp bits of information that come fast. And speaking of coming fast, so I was talking to, your ears were burning, no doubt. I was talking to Joe Darlington the other day, and we were remarking about the Bond Bulletin, how by far it has the most robust content on YouTube in the shortest amount of time. You've taken some of your older content, you've repackaged it in wonderfully new ways, and you've taken new content and you created this. What happened? What happened to Benjamin Lin where you said, I'm going to go from the written word to now, going to the visual word?
Yeah, summer happened. I had a lot of time on my hands. All my English students are on holiday somewhere. So no. When I did the launch video, I said in it that people don't read anymore, or not as often as they used to. And I see it with myself. I consume information not from the newspaper or from long articles. Seldom I read an article online. good ones by Bond bloggers, like the recent one that Nicholas Susik wrote. Susik, I always say it wrong. And that one about the Bond films actually losing money from Gert-Jan Waterink. It was a really, really great article. And these ones I read, but I consume more in video. And I thought, when I do it, other people do it. And the trend is going towards that. And I love to make videos whenever I have the time. So I said I treat it as an experiment. The experiment was if I can, interest people in these kinds of videos. And clearly I did. I really did not expect, and I said that in the video the other day, first episode of A Good Squeeze, that I didn't expect 800 plus subscribers.
And
that is for other YouTubers, like when they record gaming footage or whatever. For them, it's just a milestone. I reached that easily. But I spoke to a lot of people, and they said, "Well, I've gone over 1,000, but then it stops." And they all said, "It won't stop with 1,000 with you." And I think, okay, that's a confidence boost. I take all of that. It will be a bit slower, maybe. Now I have to work again, and my weekdays get longer and longer. But I try. Do my best.
I have to tell you, so just from my point of view, but I've heard from others, there's a couple of characteristics that we love about the YouTube version of the Bond Bulletin. Number one, your editing skills and production skills are unbelievable. And we're going to talk about something you did a few years ago, but let's not reveal that yet to the people watching. But when you watch these things, it looks like you have an entire team of 15 individuals. And I know that's your skill set. What I loved about it too is the content. And I've said this to you before on some of my discussions, is that your content is very unique. So there's lots of people talking about the title. There's lots of people talking about the controversy over 007 and Lashana Lynch. All of a sudden, you come on with a horse. Yeah. And you're doing equestrian, you're tying it to Roger Moore and Bond, and you're saying things like, I don't see Daniel Craig, riding a horse, and I have an opinion. And you bring such a freshness and uniqueness to the content, and I think people are gravitating to that.
I think sometimes it is like somebody hitting a sword through these discussions, everything boils up with this Lashana Lynch thing and the title thing. And it is not intended when I bring something completely else. I didn't even do a video on Lashana Lynch, and I didn't say much about it. I read a lot of these discussions, and I had some arguments with people about that from the German Bond Club, and this is okay. You can argue, you can have an opinion, but it borders a political opinion, and I stay away from that on Facebook and all social media outlets where I'm active. So I just do what I feel is right. And with the horses, you have to, Yannick was here, he held the camera. So brave he was when the horse charged at him.
Yes.
Go out there. Yep. Oh, man. Easy. Easy. It charged right at him. And it was my task to protect me, the horse, and him. Yeah. And he was quite calm, and he kept the camera steady, but I think that sent a shockwave through him.
Well, but your videos have action and adventure.
Yes, yeah. And this is not easy to do. Like the location video, Carlo Vivari, it was hell. It was hell. Because the weather on the first day was really great. So everything looked sun-soaked, really great. But so many people. Yeah. So many tourists, and they create a noise in total that went over my microphone. And then I thought, okay, get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, do the video, accept the graininess that the video will have, because the GoPro is only good in sunlight. It's a sunlight camera. Mm-hmm. Don't do action in the morning. But I thought this was the better way. And then I made the mistake of mixing up the locations, and I had to do it again the day I left.
Oh. So I did hear that story. I've got to tell you something about that video. I saw only about, I would say, 8 minutes of it, and then I turned it off. But I have to tell you why. My wife and I are, right, sounds controversial. My wife and I are visiting there next year, and I love the video so much. I said, Danielle, I didn't want to watch it without you. I want to watch it together, because even when you were talking about the sulfur water with the cup, with the little stem, I said, we can learn so much from this, like how to drink out of the cups, and really health and wellness. And you have this, and I read it and I experienced it in Solden. You have a very infectious, and I mean that in a positive way, personality. When you're talking to a GoPro, people don't realize how hard that is. It is an inanimate object. It's wires and batteries, and it is not sexy, and it ain't answering you back. But you've got to then get into the mind that that is suddenly the entity of all the people watching this. And that is very difficult. Does that come from you being a teacher? Where does that come from?
Actually, it looks, in the finished version, it looks quite easy and quite relaxed and quite comfortable, but I'm not. That's the second reason why I filmed in the morning without people, because funny enough, in these places, I mean, there are tourists everywhere. Everybody has a camera phone. Everybody is doing something. The Japanese are doing it with their sticks. I had a stick too. I have an extension for that thing to keep it stable. And I always have the feeling, oh, this person over there, he's looking at me. He's probably wondering what I'm doing, and he's probably listening in. So I do it again. I go back 20 meters, 30 meters, and do it again, and wait until he's gone. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's stage fright. I suffer from severe stage fright, and I'm on stages a lot. So
amazing.
But there's nothing that can teach you to be more confident. It's just sometimes I need no people around me.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because somebody that says they have stage fright and suffers from that, you did something, you put yourself out there in a very personal way with a connection to Bond a few years ago, and you made a movie. And it was, lest anybody thinks this was people dressing up as James Bond, rolling around their backyard, it was a very emotional journey of one Bond fan and the connection to others. Can you tell us a little bit about that movie?
Yes, it's called A Bond for Life, How James Bond Changed My Life, the longest title ever for a fan film. And I came up with the idea to do this film because I had a lot of old material where I actually visited Bond locations and had very old cameras. Now we're in the absolutely technological advanced age. We have 4K until 8K comes along. That's the best you can have. But I wanted to use this material in some kind of project, but I was swirling around with ideas how to do that. I didn't want to just put it out there. And then I thought, make a film from the time when this material was filmed and how my life evolved together with Bond. And from there, I didn't have a script. I never filmed with a script, never. My fault. That's why I do 30 takes. But then I thought, okay, go back to these places where I saw my first Bond film. And I was there at the actual cinema. And then see if you can put 20 years together, if you can string those together by visiting all these places of my childhood, mixing it with going to Bond locations and meeting people from the Bond world. And it became bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And back then I started with a new 1080p camera, and I thought, well, that's the highest we have at the moment. That's what the cinema is screening. They didn't have 4K at that time. And it was a really great journey through 7 countries, 7 European countries, and 130 plus individual locations that we visited. And I had a lot of people, a lot of Bond friends who helped me along, who I also met and interviewed during a lot of events and trips you did together. And the first big trip was with the Bond Club Germany to Rotterdam and Amsterdam when they had the Designing 007 exhibition. And there I had the opportunity to speak to people, to put a microphone on them and speak to them. And then I thought, if that works with those people, it should work with VIPs. Why not? And I have David Arnold on Facebook, and I sent him an interview request because there was his concert debut in London at the Royal Festival Hall. And we have a group who always goes there, the John Barry guys, I love them. And we went there together, and I sent him a Facebook message with a photo that we did together the year before, I think. I said, would you be interested in an interview film? It's for UNICEF. Also an aspect, I did that film for charity because I wanted to attract people not only to watch the film because of Bond, but also to do good, which worked very well.
Nice.
And all of the guest stars that I have, I think 11 in total, took no money for being interviewed and had absolutely no demands, but very little have seen the film. And it went from there to being a really stressful journey also. And then putting it together, I had over 50 hours of material that we filmed exclusively just for that film, including the old material, but that was maybe 30 minutes. And most of it is still in the archive. And the finished film is 2 hours and 4 minutes. And John Glenn said it's too long. He is one of the people who saw it together with his wife privately. And he is the only one besides Eon who has a copy of it. He wanted that when he saw it. He said, please, can you put that on a disc for me? And I had to do that at night and convert it down to 1080p and burn it on a Blu-ray, on a DVD, and see him the next morning in his hotel and said, here's this. And he wanted the tribute trailers for his work and everything to show his sons. And but I never got a reply from Eon. So I spoke to Barbara. She knows the film exists. And I spoke to her during that event at Bond in Motion with David Arnold. And she got her secretary, who I spoke to a few days earlier, because I wanted an appointment at Eon House to hand in the Blu-ray. And she said, well, come over here and make an appointment with Benjamin here. And I did. And so I went to the sacred place. But there's nothing to see. It's just an office. It's just office space. Yeah. But the receptionist, she was very, very nice, and she took the package, but I never heard anything. I mean, the film is dedicated to Barbara and Michael. And I did this clever thing, devised it together with Yannick, to have the gun barrel form from their names, from the O's in their names, and then not going from left to right, but going from right and left to the middle. So the film has a personal touch every minute, and I will cut a shorter version because I know it has lengths. It will be shown next month here again in my city when we have our Bond event here with Honor Majesties.
What month is that?
September. 21st of September. We will have Mission Bond, which is an annual event. We have Derek Lyons and Terence Mountain.
Oh, fantastic.
And a guest from Spectre will be here. Yes.
Oh, that's exciting.
I can't reveal anything.
But I love the fact that your movie is going to be shown to that wide audience, which is great, and it deserves it. Yeah.
We premiered it in the cinema. There were 90 people in a big cinema. It was a very emotional premiere because I did that video. That stuff I can't upload to YouTube because I get copyright claims all over. We had a video with Whitney Houston singing One Moment in Time, a live version she did at the Grammys, set to behind-the-scenes images that we filmed and weren't used in the film. And this brought people to tears because what I said before is what you see is everything is one moment in time. If you don't film it, if you don't live it, if you're not fully there, it's gone.
Yeah,
it's gone.
Yeah. That's
just like everything we experience being in Selden or being on Piz Gloria with all these other fans. If you don't live it, if you're not fully there, you haven't lived the moment.
It's so funny you say this because if you look at my tagline for the Bond experience, it's living like Bond, one moment at a time. Living in one moment at a time. It's not, you need a video and you need, no, it's that one moment. And those moments add up to a collection of perceptions, and that's your experience. That's the journey that you go on.
Yeah.
Speaking of the journey, you've gotten to know through all your trials and tribulations and examples, and obviously now with the YouTube channel success, a lot of the Bond community. I mean, really, there's a reckoning where you understand, I think, truly that you speak to the world. So tell me, what are the best things about the Bond community, but also followed up with what are some of the things that really bother you about the Bond community?
Ooh, how much time do you have?
Oh, we've got all the time in the world. It's like you gifted that.
Nah, in my Skype with Yannick, you would have gotten a point for that. One quote is not enough. What I love first and foremost is what we do here, exchanging views and opinions. Wherever, if it's on YouTube, if it's in Skype sessions, if it's just watching a video, taking in the opinion of another person, but ultimately meeting in person at all these events around the globe. That's where I enjoy the company of Bond friends the most. Although, as I have mentioned often before, I have a problem with crowds and actually people in general. But I consider this as a family. And the people who have seen A Bond for Life know that I don't have a family anymore. I don't have parents anymore. I'm living my life on my own because that's the way I want it. I don't want somebody in my life. I'm just like that. But the Bond people, this is like a circle of friends that I'm very comfortable in because they are like-minded. There is never any deceit or, well, rarely, which borders to the second part of your question. I had these experiences which were bad. I will name no names, but there was another Bond fan who comforted me when something like this happened, and I really got angry, and that is a point where you should not bring me. And he said to me, I've been doing this a lot longer than you have, and the Bond community is often like a snake pit. And once you're in there, you get bitten. And I thought that is a severe statement, thinking of the whole community, where I only had a problem with one person. But it happens. What I don't like is super fans who say, I'm the best fan in the world, and my opinion counts, and yours is wrong because of that, because of that, because of that. And there is no dialogue, no exchange. It's just, they need to be the best in the world. And that they lessen you, that puts me down. I don't like it. I hate it. Rarely do I have these encounters. I would really say 98% were positive and 2%.
Yeah. I would say that's kind of an accurate percentage that I have. It's funny. I went on a rant maybe a couple of weeks ago about groups of people or individuals saying, I'm first. I'm the first here, or I'm the first to do this, or I'm first to come up with this theory, or I'm first as a badge. And I'm like, okay, great. I guess you win. Was it a game? Was it a competition? Like, it's so strange, But to your point, these super fans who have to think in superlatives, I'm the biggest, I'm the best, I'm the most this, I'm the most that. It can get a little jarring, and usually I don't try to give those people oxygen. I kind of take it in and it flies right out. I think you're the same way.
Yeah, that's the way it is. Yeah, exactly. And I'm a very polite person. I was brought up well. So if these super fans are next to me at an event or something, and they start speaking about that, and often I have them saying these funny things that has to do with their super fandom. So, like, oh, I would give you a tip, but nah. And then I think, well, then go on, continue on your path. Don't bother me. So, but I stay polite. I'm with my drink, and then I drink a bit more than usual, and then I wait until it's time to step out of this conversation and go to somebody else. I then go to somebody else of the Bond community who I know will rescue me from that conversation. And that is a good thing, because at a party where you only know 2 or 3 people, try to do that.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, whoever gave you the comment about the snake pit, I think the only problem with that analogy is life. Any circle of people, whether you're in a corporation, a company, a school, have a group of people, and eventually there will be conflict. There will be something. Yep. So hobbies, I mean, really, I have some friends that are in the Star Trek and Star Wars community. Wow. I mean, it's a 50-50 chance you've ground up against somebody in there. Whereas I find Bond you can count on, a few fingers, the individuals that have really torqued you in a way.
Yeah, it's true. What do you think is bigger, Bond or Star Wars or Star Trek? Are we the bigger community? Really?
No, I think Star Wars is bigger.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to play favorites here, but I think Star Wars as a community, Marvel, Disney in general have done a very good job helping to create and build a foundation of that community. I think one of the things I'd like to see, and I'm liking to see it more, is that it seems that Eon and the distributors are starting to embrace people like yourself and others in the Bond community more. I wish they would do it beyond events and little moments in time and have an ongoing relationship, because I think that relationship helps them to keep a finger on the pulse of everyone.
Yes, I think so too. I've said that for years. It would make their job a lot easier, and will probably smooth over the figures they had with the last Bond films in marketing and distribution and PR, because we are really doing a lot, and that is free advertising that we do. And I don't know, if I would be in their shoes, I would say, hey, okay, other franchises are doing it. They're giving fans access to things if they do something. I mean, I saw it with Selden. I didn't expect to be invited, but I was happy that they did.
Yeah,
it was a good thing. And we did our bit. We reported, we had the photos, we had the videos, and I think from what I heard from Selden, because I went back there and gave a talk on the numbers of Bond fans globally that they can reach if they continue on this path doing good advertising and reaching out to them, to us. I lost my point there.
Well, you saw the effect of what we brought to the table.
Yeah. It is a very well visited installation. Yes. And I was like, I told them I want to see the first year when there's winter. Summer, it will have a problem because Selden is not the hiking area. It is a skiing area. And I need to see the winter figures. And they were fine. They were really good because of, also because of us. Pretty sure.
All right. We're going to play a game now.
Oh, goodness.
There we go. Get yourself prepared.
Oh,
so, Benjamin, the phone rings, and you look at the number, and you don't recognize it, but it's the type of guy you are. You answer the phone. You put it to your ear, and it's a very senior level executive from Eon who says, Mr. Lin, thank you so much for everything you've done with the Bond Bulletin. You never asked us for anything, but we are here to grant wishes. You can have any Bond experience you want. You could hang glide smoking a cigar. You could interview Daniel Craig. You could be in No Time to Die as an extra or a talking part. Whatever you want that Bond experience to be, we will grant it. So, Benjamin, what is the Bond experience that you want?
That is an interesting question. Initially I thought of being an extra in No Time to Die, because I know there were a lot of Bond fans in Quantum of Solace. I admired that, and I sometimes I pause it and pick out faces, but it's probably too easy. It would be something subtle, not so action-like. I would probably like to have a sit down with Barbara and Daniel, I think. I think that would be my wish, to sit down with Barbara. I admire her as a person. She is one of the most influential producers, female producers in Hollywood. Not just doing Bond. And from the few times that I've met her and briefly spoken to her, I think there is more. I'm normally when I meet stars, I say, initially I lose all my confidence, and I was like, ooh. And then a second later, I have that thought, well, they eat the soup with the same spoon as I do. They go to the same toilet that I do. So just go in. But Barbara Broccoli, given the power that she has and the way I admired her over the years, not since GoldenEye, because needed to figure out what that whole thing is. But since The World Is Not Enough, when I actively followed the production of the Bond films, I thought, wow, she steers all that like a puppet master, a very good puppet master. Also, Michael Wilson. I should maybe invite him too. Because he could take photos. He's a very good photographer, and I like that.
Too. It's okay.
Yeah. Michael, just come along. Don't mention the title. That would be it. That would be it. A sit down. I know some people from the Bond Club Germany had the chance to sit down with Barbara, Michael, and Daniel, and they said it was the first time they opened up and had fans interview them. And it's a funny story. The first few minutes were like they were sitting very far away from the interviewers, from the fans, and were like body language totally closed. And the fans described it like they were sitting like, well, okay, we are the Bond producers and this is our star. Who are you? And I thought, that's probably not what I would like. But I know they have gotten a lot friendlier over the years. And when you ran into them, all the time I ran into them, never spoken to Michael because he's always buzzing around. He's speaking to a lot of people. But Barbara, people seek her company automatically. That's true. But I would speak to her about a lot of things aside from Bond that would interest me. Also Daniel Craig. So that would be my,
I love it.
I won't jump out of an airplane because I did that. It was shit.
Off your bucket list. All right. So here we go. It's the last question, but it's an important one because I think for people that either know you quite well in the Bond Bulletin or they're just getting to know you through this video, question I'd like to ask is, the Bond Bulletin, you've evolved it over time and it keeps evolving. So what can we expect in the future? What's your vision for the Bond Bulletin?
My vision, actually, I thought about that today. It's funny. On the way to the stable, to the horses, I thought about how could I bring a Bond for Life to YouTube? Because I get so many messages, where can we see your film? And obviously a lot of things have to be changed. All the copyrighted music has to be taken out. Yeah, there is copyrighted music in there. And Andrew Lloyd Webber would probably ring me up if he saw that. But with a few changes, one Bond fan told me, don't worry what John Glenn says, it's too long. Some Bond fans would watch a 12-hour series of that. If you dig back into that 50 hours of material that you have. And so I thought of cutting it up into pieces, into episodes, and do a web series. This is obviously a lot of work, so I have to think that through carefully and arrange it with my schedule. Otherwise, I will just continue to do what I have done now. I have established my regular series that I do. Oh, my headphones are hanging. Doing it with Yannick, the Swiss Connection, a good squeeze. I get a lot of questions. So last video, I just answered 5 or something. But you have to keep these videos digestible.
Yes.
I don't want to throw dirt on other YouTubers, but I have a problem keeping my attention span over 40 minutes or an hour. So then I start doing something on the side, and that's why I decided with Yannick to do Swiss Connection not longer than 45 minutes, because it's digestible. And so I want to keep the same level of professionality that I have now. You mentioned the editing. Which just comes naturally when you have made a film, you get a sense for, but it's a learning curve. I learn every day to cut and edit, and now I started color grading, and probably looks rubbish. Tom Waldeck would say. I love Tom. I love his work, and you learn from the masters. It's really And this year, a couple of things are coming. It's the 4th quarter. It's always busy with Bond. I will be in Switzerland, the event of the James Bond Club Switzerland, and they have a Bond girl. She is actually on her honeymoon trip through Europe.
Wow.
So now everybody's thinking, oh, who is young or old enough to marry for the maybe first or third time? And this is very special because I wanted to meet her for years and years and years, and I have several questions for her, and I will probably have her read her lines in German from the German dubbing, just as a fun game. And yeah, they set up a really, really, really nice event right next to the house of Tina Turner. So maybe if we're loud enough, who knows?
Yeah.
And it's near Zurich, so I will speak to 007 collector Michael Hackel, who has one of the biggest collections in Europe. And I know he has some items of my film, so it would be fun to actually film his collection and stumble over them.
Wow.
I know he has the drinks menu from the world premiere and everything. He really collects everything. And John Glenn will be back in Frankfurt on the 3rd of November in the German Film Museum. We will show License to Kill. And I know there will be John. There will be his wife, Janine. She's very important because she was Cubby Broccoli's secretary. And there will be an Aston Martin. A DB5. Yes.
That's exciting.
Yeah. And that will be the rest of my year. So I will put all of that on YouTube. And yeah, separate pieces, because nothing fits in one video. But and that level of, well, event documentaries, you will see through the next years. And then let's see what I can come up with.
I love it. I love it. Great answer. You keep serving it up and we'll keep digesting it. That is a promise. I know I will. I love watching you. I've said it time and time again over my morning coffee. I wake up in the morning, I see who's posted new videos. You're always consistent. It's always high quality, and I enjoy them. So thanks so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. This has been Benjamin Lin, obviously from the Bond Bulletin, and David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience, and we will see you real soon. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.